Hey gang, it's Dave Littlejohn back for the next episode of the Stuff About Money They Don't Teach in School. And today we're going to do no fancy graphics, no anything, just the boring guy on the TV watching and talking, right? So here's the question that I want to challenge you. Is college an investment? Really, is education an investment? And a lot of people will say it's a right, it's a privilege, it's a this, it's a that. What I will tell you is my personal take, and yes, it is an investment, which changes the way you think about the education, right? Where folks oftentimes make the mistake is folks will go into higher education and just finish high school and they won't know what to do next. So they just say, all right, well, I'm going to go off to college. And when you do, this can be really kind of a clumsy effort, right? I've seen people that they'll go and all of a sudden they don't have the same structure that they used to, or they have a ton of freedom and they just kind of go willy-nilly. They don't focus, right? And why is that? It's because I don't think folks understand that college is a type of investment. Okay, if you just go to school because you don't know what else to do, very dangerous, and you can draw this thing out for a long time. What's the education supposed to do? Okay, right? It should enable you to go follow into a field that is some kind of academic barrier to entry, right? If you think about it, if you want to be a doctor, you've got to go to school to meet the various hurdles in order to get into medical school to then get licensed in order to practice medicine. Or law, or lots of things. I mean, heck, if you want to be an appraiser, right? Real estate appraiser, you have to have, at least in the state of Oregon, you have to have a college degree. So they don't say that it has to be an appraising, right? But you do have to have a bachelor's degree. So there are career fields that have this barrier to entry of education. And if you think about it as I have this investment that I need to make, then it changes the tune, the way people track this. I got some great advice about education when I was younger, and I want to pass some of this on. A couple things to consider. First and foremost is you need to be able to get back out of it what you put into it. The mistake is if somebody wants to go off and go spend a bunch of money at a private school to become a teacher. Okay, now this is not to diminish the quality of the education, but if you come out of school with $100,000 or more of education, of debt for your education, and then you go into a career field where you're going to get paid very little, it's going to take a really long time to get that debt paid off. Or maybe you go into one of these programs where it's an incentive, like a rural program, and they're going to forgive your loan if you go work in a small community or something like that. Okay, well, that actually factors in. Why? Because investments have an expectation of return, right? We have this term called return on investment, or ROI. And if you think about your education as needing an ROI, all of a sudden it changes, doesn't it? Because you don't just go to school to study something nobody cares about, right? Because if you want to get a degree in Renaissance art and architecture, that's a really highly specialized degree, and most employers don't care. Unless you're going to go work at a museum or something, that may not have a lot of value to an employer. Now, sure enough, if you get a bachelor's degree, what is it really helping you do? If you get a degree, and I keep saying bachelor's degree, it could be associate degree, it could be whatever it is, whatever higher education that you get, it's getting you the interview, right? So if it enables you to get a job, then it's served its purpose in that respect. But keep in mind that what you spent matters, okay? Trade school is another interesting one. Right now, really high ROI, high return on investment. So if you go to a trade school, there's a shortage of trade skilled jobs right now. And I see people that they'll come out of school getting welding jobs, getting $60, $70, maybe $80,000 a year as a welder. And sometimes more than that with bonuses and other scenarios. So you think about how much they paid for their education versus how much they are going to get paid when they go to work. It's really high. And they can pay off their loans very quickly. And here's the other thing folks often miss is the time value of money, right? You think about, are you better off getting a job where you can go to work immediately and start getting paid $60,000, $70,000 a year, or if you have to wait 10 years to get a job that pays you $200,000 a year? right? How long does it take for you to recover? The doctor make a lot of money, but it takes a long time before they can go to work, and they have a ton of debt to pay off. So how long before they actually realize the profits, right? Versus somebody that comes out with low debt and gets to work immediately, even in a lower paying job, you may have the ability to then invest and do other things. So education is an investment. And that's the first one. But there's a couple other tips that I would offer about education that I think are maybe worth at least considering. One of them, and this was really great advice I received and then didn't follow very well, is go to school where you want to live. Now, this is counterintuitive to some, right? They're like, I want to get out of town, I want to go see the world. Look, if you go to school where you want to live, when you go to school, you're building a network. Okay, all the people that you're around, all of your peers and all of the folks that you interact with become part of your network. And that professional network then goes on beyond college or beyond education, whatever your advanced education is. So if you're going to school where you want to live, that can help improve your network if you are going to stay in that area. Okay? If you go to school and move somewhere else, you have to rebuild the network all over again. So that is a component to consider. I'm going to give you one more. This is the should I go to school or not? Okay, so should I go to school or not, and how to choose your major. These are two things that I've shared this before. If you don't know, I have a radio show. And so we talk about this on the radio. But here's the advice is first to determine whether or not you go to school. First, you got to determine whether or not you're going to what your major might be. So here's the test, right? Now it used to be that you could get a course catalog and it was a physical document, like I got and I can draw on it and whatever. Now a lot of it's digital, but let's just say that you could still get the equivalent of the course catalog, and you can do this digitally if you want to. What I would have you do is take that catalog, open it up, and then start circling or highlighting anything that sounds interesting to you, anything at all. Like that class seems kind of cool. Then afterwards, let it sit for highlight all the stuff that's interesting to you, and then wait a couple of days. And this is important. You need to wait a couple of days because you're going to come back afterwards, and anything that's not interesting, I want you to just cross those off. Okay? And then you're going to have something left, right? And here's the rule. If you crossed off everything, don't go to school. I mean, like literally, that sounds crazy, but I would say don't bother going to school. Join the Peace Corps, get a job for a little while, do something, because if there is nothing you are interested in, what is the point of going to school right now? Right? You're not going to put in the effort, your grades are going to suffer, and you're going to limit your opportunities. So don't waste your money, okay? Because here's the other thing about school. If you go and you're not sure what you want to do, that's okay, as long as you get the grades and make sure that you don't close any doors. Because if you go to school and get terrible grades, you're not going to be able to then go back and get into other schools. So it matters, right? So let's say you didn't cross off everything. You made this list and there's still a few things left. Here's what you do. Go back and I want you to look for however many of those things show up in the majors that you might have in school. Whichever one shows up on the most, like the thing that gets the most classes in that major, that is really something to consider. Here's why. You'll like it, right? If you go to school and you hate what you're doing, it's miserable, right? The last thing I want to do is slog in to do something I hate. If you go to school and you're taking classes that you want to take and you really enjoy them, you're going to put the effort in and then you're going to make the grades. And not only will you succeed, but then you're going to be able to open up other doors. So if it's starting at a junior college, you're going to have good enough grades to then get into a university. If it's at a university, you're going to have good enough grades to get into some kind of grad school, right? But it starts with caring, right? If you don't give a flip, it's really easy to just squander your opportunity and spend money doing it. Okay, so that's my takeaway for you is go to school where you want to live. And if you don't do that, then at least go to school where you're going to put in an effort. So select a major that, and then the last one is if you're still unsure and you find a major, look at the majors and then figure out, well, what jobs might follow from the major that I'm looking at. And if it, I'll be honest, right? My undergraduate degree doesn't have a whole lot to do directly with finance, right? I got a degree in journalism. Now, it turns out I write all the time. I do a lot of content creation, and so it has been very, very valuable professionally for me. Nevertheless, you need to consider, does the degree have any value at all to an employer? Okay. And then here's the final one. You don't have to go to school. And what we're discovering is many employers are looking for the right attitude and aptitude, so they will do a lot of their own training, and you may end up being an entrepreneur. Maybe you want to do something on your own. And so I'm not interested in getting a job for somebody else. I want to create my own job. That's okay. If you want to do that, fantastic. Just know that education needs to be viewed as an investment. And if it's an investment first, it has to have a return on investment. If you want to maximize your return, you want the value of the network that you create, but the doors that you either open or close. And so that's why I recommend all of this. Chase down your major first, figure out what you're interested in, and make sure that it makes economic sense. Because I think that the disservice that we do in our culture right now is we just tell everybody, you got to go to school, you got to go to school, you got to go to school. And nobody says why, right? Find your why, figure out what drives you, and then figure out whether or not that's going to help you at the next stage. Because education is not just learning for learning's sake. If you want to do that, you've got the internet. You can learn whatever you want, okay? But if you want to make it something that is going to get you professional advancement, then view it as an investment. All right. So maybe a little preachy today, but nevertheless, that's always what is on my mind. So thanks as always for tuning in. Until next time. Oh, reminder, the website stuff, right? So littlejohnfs.com for the free tools. And also, if there's something else that you as a parent or you as a student are interested in, then let us know. And we will be sure to get that covered as well. Just a few more days in the month of April for the remainder of these classes. Hopefully you guys are still safe, healthy, happy, and all that good stuff. Until next time, this has been David Littlejohn. Thanks.